How's it going, everybody? So, I want to make this one a bit shorter. I feel like I get a little too rambly, and yeah, so I just want to try to make this one a little bit shorter. But thankfully, I have a lot of good things to say about this album, and probably only like two or three things that are just like, eh. But hands down, this is definitely one of my favorite albums of the year, and by a band who I've discovered 3 or 4 months ago, and I've already seen live, so. This is Macro by Jinjer. Actually really, yeah, I've been looking forward to this one. And I'm really glad I got to experience this album as a new fan as it came out. Now, I did pre-order there was like a special, like, you get an autographed version, so I don't have the physical version. But once I saw there was like, I love these guys so much, essentially what I'm saying is, I love these guys so much that I was just like, there's an autograph version of the CD? Sure, I'll buy that and wait for it to come in the mail. So, and I'm glad I did. I've just been listening to the album on Spotify and cannot wait to actually have like the physical thing. And I'm glad I got that. So, support the bands. Anyway, okay, so we're dealing with a 9-track album that is roughly around 41 minutes. It's great. It's great. I guess that's one of the negative things to say. It is a bit short, both in track length and just length in general. 41 minutes. I mean, this is an album, not a mini album, but 9 tracks. And let's be real here, and this is the most major criticism I have of this album. Track number 9, Lanyup, popping all the P's. But, which is, Perennial, backwards, and what is the point of this track? I'm sorry, am I missing something here? Because from my perspective, just my ignorant brain here, did they just smoke a whole bunch of weed and just, yeah, let's make a version of a previously released song of ours off of one of our previous mini albums, and make it all like weird and very ambient and kinda sorta some lyrics, but her lyrics kinda sound like they're in water. What is the fucking point of this track? And like, only two things pop in my head. Again, I wasn't there. I don't know any of the band members. Help me out here, because I'm thinking one of two things happened. One, or maybe both of the reasons why this is on here. One, like I said, drugs were involved. Or two, the record label was like, you can't have an album with only 8 tracks. You need at least one more. Like, and they're like, well, shit. I mean, maybe they had writer's block. Like, why is this track on here? I don't get it. I don't like it. Just don't bother. Like, I love the majority of Jinjer songs. I think I like pretty much all of them, of everything I've heard off of their main albums and their mini albums. And this is the first one I can honestly say that I'm like, I don't get it. I don't like it. This is a waste of my time. I'm not going to bother with it. And every time Spotify like plays this, I'm going to skip it. I don't get it. Help me out. Does anyone know what the fuck the point of this is? My apologies. I highly doubt anyone from the band's going to watch this, but did you just need to fill time? I would have taken another King of Everything like song. Like, give us like, I don't know. You want to experiment? That's cool. But don't put 5 minutes of just like ambient background music that's a rehashing of one of your previous songs. I'm sorry. That's the only negative thing I really, really need to say is the length and track number 9. What the fuck? On to the good stuff. The rest of the album, fantastic. Now, I'm going to put something here in the middle category, and this is going to be a subjective thing. This isn't, for me, this is kind of like whatever. But I know for some people they're not going to really like this, and for some people they are really going to like. There's a reason why people like this. And let me explain. This album reminds me of an album by one of my favorite bands, Duran Gray, the Dom Spiro Spero album. And by the way, if I'm pronouncing anything wrong, cool. Let me know in the comments. That's fine. I apologize in advance. So I'm sure I'm pronouncing some things wrong already. But Dum Spiro Spero, it wasn't the first album that Duran Gray made where it's like super heavy. They were kind of making albums before that were heavy. I guess this was like this was like the first album of like a newer style that they brought into. And the thing about that album is, especially if you listen to A Different Sense, the song A Different Sense, don't recommend watching that music video on YouTube. Do not recommend watching that. But the song, it took me a while, but I eventually got into the song. And essentially, if you want to run down that album, was very, very heavy album, but it's also very all over the place. And I know one of the band members, I don't know if it was Kyo, I don't know if it was one of the guitarists, I forgot who talked about it, but one of the band members said how, yeah, that album, it felt like we were all, and as he means by that is like the guitarist, the bassist, drummer, like everyone, rather than being in sync and creating a more structured song, the majority of the album, if not all of the album, was more like them all doing their own thing. And he even said, I believe, something along the lines that kind of felt like they were trying to upstage one another in each song. And they're all kind of doing their own thing. It wasn't very structured, but it worked. And I understand some people like that breaking the structure, all over the place tempo, because I guess it gives like this raw energy, this raw passion. And they're probably the same people who say things like, I prefer a record player because that sound is like a real raw sound. I prefer MP4s, MP3s. Like, give me the best quality. I don't give a shit. That's just me. I want the best, more modern thing. But I understand there are people out there who like a raw, like just, I need that raw. That's cool. That's your thing. It's not really my thing. And that's song-wise, the only criticism I can come up with there. This is definitely a great album, but it's definitely not all about structure. It's probably not their most structured album. It's probably the most unstructured album they've made. I mean, don't get me wrong, it always goes into the choruses, and her choruses are fantastic. Of course, her voice is just great, but I don't know, it's so hard to describe, but you kind of have to listen to it. In like the first song On the Top, which I love the song, I love the chorus. I love, just, is it lonely on the top? Is there someone out there for you? And it's just like, yeah, you do meet people in life where it's just like, yes, you feel that way about. But it's the way that song opens. It has this awesome guitar riff. Then the drums come in, and you feel like, oh, it's about to get into this great breakdown. And then it doesn't. And I kind of felt that way about a few of the songs, where it just doesn't go, the breakdowns or the verses following a good setup. I didn't feel like that's the way they were going to go, or maybe it should have went. And just again, unstructured is just what comes to mind. If I break it down to the simplest form, it's just not structured, and it feels like all the band members were kind of doing their own thing, but combining it to make the song, rather than structure a song together and set up and all that. And I understand. That's why I'm putting this in the middle. It's not a good, it's not a bad. It's not everyone's cup of tea. For me, it's like, as a whole, the song works and great, and her voice is great, and it's not that much of a problem. There's a lot of bands where it could be a problem, but these are musicians where all four of them are fucking fantastic, professionals, amazing, talented at their instrument. And Tatiana's like Heckle and Dr. Heckle and Mr. Hyde, or Jekyll and Mr. Hyde voice, or the angel demon like quality that she brings to the table. It's fantastic. So these guys make it work. And yeah, and there is some experiment. I'm not going to say this is like an experimental album. Jinjer does like to experiment with some different things here and there. Judgment and Punishment, which they made a music video for, which is a very weird but kind of funny music video. You really need to watch that till the end because that's when they really show off their sense of humor. And in the beginning, I was like, okay, this is a witch about to like turn somebody or poison somebody, and then like it just takes a kind of hilarious turn that I didn't. It's like, oh, okay, these guys have a good sense of humor. I like that, but which is nice to see in a metal song. But the thing about Judgment and Punishment is it's kind of reggae, so has some reggae elements. The verses are reggae, and the thing is what she talks about, where they talk about their homeland and how being nice and stuff like that. No, you shouldn't really do that. And just kind of interesting lyrics when you listen to them, and then behind a reggae sound and then into metal. It's interesting. Now, I really want to talk about probably my favorite song. It's really tough for me to figure out what my favorite song on this album is. I love 8 out of the 9 tracks, and it really is difficult for me to say which one. On the Top is great. It's a good opening song. Judgment and Punishment, it grew on me. I didn't much care for it first, but it got there. But I really, really want to talk about Retrospection. Jinjer fans, correct me if I'm wrong. Is this the first song where Tatiana sings in Ukrainian? Because I can't think of any off the top of my head, but maybe there were times where she growled and I just couldn't understand her. And I will admit, I don't necessarily pay attention to lyrics. That's not really like my top priority. Like, I want to catch them. I listen to Japanese metal, and the majority of lyrics I don't even understand. But if I really love the song, I will look up the lyrics later. I've never really been. I'm more about energy. Give me energy. Give me like good breakdown. I like a good structure. Like just setups. Like I like just the art of the song itself. I don't. If the lyrics fit and just how they're delivered means more to me than what is delivered, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And is this the first song where she sings in Ukrainian? I like it. I really like it. I've never gone out of my way to listen to a song, listen into that language before, but she does it very well. Starts off, slow, no metal. She sings in her native language. And then it just goes in, and just like, it's a slow, heavy, just beat. And then later on she goes into screaming, and it just fucking works, man. It's a good song. And for me, it's different because I've never heard that language sung before. And I think they performed that song live. Like, every time I listen to Retrospection, I get a little flashback of when they performed live in Tampa a month ago prior to me recording this. And just the drum beat and just the guitar and her screaming, I think they performed this live. And it was good. Like, it was just like everyone was like doing this to the song. Like, you cannot, it's one of those beats where it's like, if you're a metal fan anyway, you can't not do this. Like, you're just like, yeah, it's just like a good, it's so good. So Retrospection is one to really look out for. I think that's probably the song I'd recommend most. Yeah. So I'm going to leave it at that. I don't want to get too rambly. Now, score-wise, I've been going back and forth on this for like the past 2 days now, thinking about doing this review. And I've been going back and forth between an 8.5 and a 9. I don't know. I feel like an 8.5 is perfect, and a 9 is maybe just a tad bit too generous. Fuck it. I'm going with an 8.5 on this one. I think it's just a little too short. And just track number 9. I don't get it. I don't get it. It's just, I would have rather had, I think I probably would have given this album a 9 out of 10 if they didn't add track number 9. I would have taken 8 tracks. But then we're looking at a 35-minute album, 36-minute album. That's just, I don't know, man. Like, that just seems so. That just doesn't seem like enough. I don't know. If you make a great album, I guess it's just selfish of me to say, like, I want more. And to end it with that ambient, weird song, it's just like, why? The 8 tracks were great. I don't know. So yeah, 8.5 out of 10. It's a great album, in my opinion, metal-wise. One of the best albums of the year. Highly recommend it. Just be on the lookout for the structure of these songs is a bit all over the place. And track number 9, maybe you'll like it. I don't, but it's just a bit short. So if you're on a long road trip or something and need like a good long song, like, it's not gonna be able to carry you a long way, but the ride that this album brings you on is fucking great, and it's energetic from start to finish. It's just good, passionate metal music by 4 incredibly talented human beings, and it shows. It shows when they put the work into actual music rather than weird ambient ones. So, alright, that'll be it for the review. I appreciate it. Thank you for watching. Have a good night.